one more story that I want to share with you today. It was a ship. It was a long time ago. Everyone drowned, and just one person stayed, and the ocean threw him to one island, and he was sitting there and crying, and still blessing God and saying, "Thank you that you saved me out of all those people." And it was so good for him. Then after a day, 2 days, and suddenly starting to understand that this island is actually very far, and not so far from place that all the ships are passing by. Like he's far from somewhere that they can save him. And then he felt like maybe there is I have to survive here more and more in this island. And this person really started to build for him a house, to look for food there in this island. And then one day he went to look where to eat. And he's starting to go back to the house that he built. And he saw that the house is like with steam. This means it's fired. And the guy fell on the floor. He was crying, and there is nothing to build the house with anymore because all the wood he used. And then he fell asleep right there on the floor when he was crying. And in the morning they woke him up from a ship that's passing by. He woke up because of the sound. And when they took him from to the ship, they said to him that they saw him because they saw the fire from far. They saw the steams, and this is what they called them to save him. So there are times in the life that we feel like everything fire, everything breaking, everything is super bad and breaking and down. But think about this story that I just said to you. Maybe the steam that's going out of all this fire and all this mess that you have in the house or in the life, maybe this is what will bring you the help that you so need. So think about this. It can happen bad times in the life, right? When everything is really like about to fail and feeling bad. But we don't know that God is working in this moment, what He wanna do in this moment. And when the steam will go out, someone will come, someone will see, and he will understand that this is the place you need to pass by, and He gonna help you. God will send someone, like they said in Ukraine. Some sentence, but so amen. But this is not the message, of course, as you know. The message called the laws of changing, of moving. So we will not talk about the laws of the roads. Yeah, we all know what is red light, green light. We not always following this, but this is already another message. But as you understand, there is more laws in the year. 2 times a year we're changing the watch, right? To the clock of the summer, clock of the winter, the time. And every moving, every changing needs to have some things that coming with. When we're changing the time, the hour, one back or one ahead. Now the phone doing this automatically. Before we needed really to spin the clock to change the time. So every changing, we need to act or to take part of this. It cannot be change in the life or moving that we are not part of this. And if to take Israel, you know, formal, there is fall and winter, but we don't feel the change here. But here in Israel, we really have just winter and summer. There is no 4 seasons. 2 weeks and you have the change. The temperature is changing from 20 to 15 or to 30 in a week. What is spring like this? I didn't know spring like this before. So the rain also, of course, when the winter is starting, we are not going with shorts or I also saw people with sandals in the winter, but it's another thing. You know, this winter, it was so cold here in Israel, and some couple, I even wanted to take a picture of them. She was it was she's like dressing so good for the winter, and the guy next to her sitting with shorts and short shirt and sandals, and my friends didn't want me to take a picture of them, but this is like a Israeli weather. For her it's so cold, for him it's so hot. But when there is a rain, we understand we need to take umbrella or to put coat. I never taking umbrella, but always I will take some coat or some sweater, because I know it's gonna be cold. I don't want to be wet or cold. And the same in the life. When we have some spiritual changing or changing of season, when God changing something, so each of us need to be ready for this. So the season or something changing, we need to take care of this and to follow it, to make sure and to understand when is a change, and more than this, to change by ourselves. In the relationship, we need to understand that this new season needs to bring us some new understanding, new powers, new qualities or personalities. We need to understand that every season, new season, is coming with some changing that you need to enter with the help of God and to give your heart to Him for Him to change you. For you not to be like separate from the season. Because if you will not be the same with the season or with the time, how God will be able to use you? Because He will not be able. You will be by yourself, using yourself, doing whatever you want, but this is not what the season or the time showing. So it can be two ways why it's happening, or a person doesn't want to change, or he really doesn't paying attention. So let's see what Jesus says about people like this. Matthew 16 from 4 to 3. And the Pharisees came to try Jesus, and they told him to show some signal from the heaven. He said to them, you know when the weather is changing, you know the weather that's coming. You guys are fake, because you know the weather changing, but you don't know the seasons. And Jesus saying here to the Pharisees and to the Jewish people, He teaching them and showing them. If He told it to His students, for them not to feel like this too, why it can happen and influencing on us this thing? Jesus saying, when you see the weather changing, you understand that you need to dress different. But when the season changing, you don't understand. Why you are not reacting on the Messiah came? In other words, the most interesting that the word fake, it's also shown when they saying to a person like an actor. Fake and actor in Greek is the same word, and it's really actually like this. Person that doesn't want to enter to a new season or to look like he doesn't pay attention, so he's trying to be an actor. Why? For the people next to him will not feel something different, for them to feel like he's like everyone, that he's really changing, that he's really entered to the season with everyone, that is part of what God doing in this moment, but actually a person playing and acting. We all see movies, right? We understand that what person doing or acting in the movie is not really the person. He just has this position in the movie. Some actor also always was acting like alcoholic, but we are not this, right? A person in the real life, he never even drink alcohol. This guy, he called George or something like this, but because he was always an actor as an alcoholic. In every movie they put him to be, everyone thought that he's a drunk person in the real life, but he's not really like this. You don't know where he is in the real life, because this is just on the stage he's like this. Good or no, if we are playing good or no, or acting good, we don't know sometimes how to check, or we cannot understand all the time that the person is not really who he is, because he's just acting and he's really sad. And this is what Jesus said not to do. His students know it. And also the same he said to the Jewish leaders. You are fake. You need to understand. In another place, he said also to his students to teach people to know the seasons. But the leaders of the Jewish didn't understand why he is so against them. They were not waiting to this kind of Messiah. Jesus didn't make the way easier for them. They thought that everything gonna be amazing and nothing changed. And they thought that he will not be with sinners and all this. And he was with the sinners, and people, like, they were not accepting him as he is. They were not waiting to this kind of Messiah. They didn't want to change the season, because each of them, everything was having a good time, good season, good amazing life. But their hearts were not ready. As I said, we're going to talk today about laws. Laws that can help us to change, to move from one season to other. The first. Let's read the automatory. Not to complain, this is the first. So they went from Edom on the way, and the nation of Israel was talking against God and against Moses. Why you took us from Egypt? It was so good there. Here we don't even have water and bread. We don't want to go and leave Egypt. And God sent on the people snakes, and many people died from the Israelis. And the people came to Moses. We sinned. We talked against God and against you. Pray to God to take all the snakes. And Moses prayed, and God said to Moses, do to you a big snake as a signal, and all the snakes will, and everyone gonna look at the big snake, they will be saved. Moses built the snake, and everyone who looked on the snake really was saved, and they were not dying from this. So to complain can be two things. When we are tired and we cannot anymore in the old season, especially when it's a hard season and we don't have any more power. The second is that we don't want to accept new, because we can think that there is going to be worse. You understand? Two reasons why to complain. On who we starting to complain most of the time? On God. We starting to complain on Him, or on the leader. But now we read what happened there on the way out from Egypt. Why people started to complain on God? It was not the first time. We know that 40 years in the desert, it happened so many times. And so many times the Israelis were complaining. Sometimes when you're reading this book, you're like, wow, God, you did this and this and this tried with them. And they still were not happy. Sometimes we are the same like them, and acting like them, like this nation of Israel, that they went out from Egypt. And what God did? He sent the snakes to be toxic and to kill people there. In Hebrew, it says like fire, it doesn't say toxic, it says fire snakes. Can you understand what was those kind of snakes? You just think that the Israelis were so annoying to God, and He wanted already to have a business with them. Sometimes I'm hearing, in the Old Testament, God was not loving the people. He doesn't love, you think? When people started to ask Moses to pray, to stop it, they knew to who to call. So right away to Moses. They knew that God will help. And God never said no. They deserve this. No. God right away said what to do to fix and to people to be saved. And we understand that to save, it was not a snake. It was not saving. Just the faith that you're going to look at the snake and you will be saved. Not that the snake is healing. No. The faith of a person is saving him. And it also says, in the desert, we all were in a desert. But in those times, desert was really many snakes and scorpions. It's terrible there on this thing. You can find this all there. But no one could touch, no Israelis, until it was no complaining. Complaining took out the secure of God on the people of Israel. All the secure that was on them, this complaint just broke the secure. As you want, okay, complain, and this is what you got. You remember, even when Noah, he took all the animals inside the thing. You understand how powerful is God, that all the animals he took there. It was no, and even Noah was the one who showing the animals where to go. Tiger, lions. God was taking them to their thing. And here the same. Those who are starting to complain. And this is what's starting. Complain in Wikipedia says it's someone who's not happy with the situation. It was not screaming, it just was words, little by little. Some little gossips and rumors of complaining in the nation. And you see how God showing and telling to Moses, do this snake. You never thought, why? Why from iron? We're talking about the desert. And this was instead of a mirror, they were using this, and we're talking about 2 million people. Moses, he didn't make on each person snake, or on each 12 people a snake. He just said one big. And he was standing, and because of the sun was lighting, shining, when the sun touching iron or metal is enough on each far to stand. From this you can look and see this snake and to get the healing. Those people pass by Dimona. There is like mirrors, and they are like lighting from the sun, but when you're passing there, you cannot even look at them. Even like it's really hard in the eyes. It was the same effect. God working always by way of Him. He never doing something for no reason. This was the make sense for 2 million people will be able to see this snake from far. Imagine 2 million people. In Akko is 40,000 and there is 2 million. People needed to look one snake from the other side of the far place. Like it's not easy. God wanted everyone to be healed and saved. And this is exactly what saved. And to make people to see the snake. Do Moses, do the nation, do Moses or God deserve this screaming and complaining? God did so many things for the Israelis. And still, and Moses too did for them a lot. But each of us also, in the life passing through hard periods, we need to take care that we are not starting to complain, because many people complaining from confusing between complain and worry. But when we are complaining, we are putting the fault on each of people around us. But when we're crying and worrying to God, we are focusing on ourselves, not trying to put the fault on God or someone else. This is just going out from the salt. We are passing through something and it's hard for me. It's not that we're trying to find someone else that it's his mistake. And look what they're saying. Our soul is tired of all this mess. Imagine to yourself, God, that has so big miracles, that took them out from Egypt, that opened the ocean. He did so many things for them. What to take care of them anymore? For to hear that they are tired of some food that God gave them every day. Imagine you coming on Friday to the church and suddenly I'm coming here, the worship was no good, the message is no good. That's it, I'm complaining about this place and I'm not coming here anymore. This is a really bad word. It's complaining. The first thing, complaining. You coming to the house of God. Maybe you don't like the worship or you don't like the message. It's because your heart is wrong or not like this. You don't want to accept. It's not the worship fault or the message. The problem is inside you. You feel that everyone is a fault and not yours. This is the difference between complaining and the soul changing. And the complaining that we sometimes doing, it's taking out the cover of God, and this is starting to be dangerous, like the snakes came to them. When we are throwing some words that are not nice, God hearing everything, and snakes are ready to attack. We just need to give them the right. They want to get the right because our complaining is opening the doors. They understand that they can attack and to work because the person let them do it in his heart, to say some complaining words. Second, second law. It's understanding that the time of the old is finishing and God starting to take you ahead to the new. And this is Joshua ben Nun 5:10-12. And the sons of Israel were standing in Galgal, and they had Passover on the 14th day of the month on Yericho, and in the second day the man stopped to fall from the sky, and on the second day it was not any more bread from the heaven, and they ate the food of the Canaan earth. Wow. For me, it's a really strong place in the Bible. I talked about this. We're talking about 2 million people. God took them to the land of Canaan. No one of them grew nothing, but God brought them to everything ready for them. When God leading us to a new season, He already preparing everything for us. Everything that touched by God is ready for you. The question is in ourselves. Do we ready to enter to all this? Or we prefer to stuck in the old? God already prepared. Imagine to feed 2 million people. He is leading them and everything is ready for them. You don't need to do anything, not to take care of the land, not to seed. Just take and eat. And look here. The time of the man passed, and to the people of Israel and for us. When the new season starting, we need to understand that the time of the man finished. Now it's a new time. We need to accept it. But how we like? It's good for me now. Why I need to change? Why I need to move? Why to change now? Everything is so good. For what to do something, to go ahead, to change. With my heart again to take care, to change, to ask God to change my heart. Now it's all good, I'm comfortable. Why I need it all? Yes, new season, many times making you to change. And it's gonna be hard and pain, but it's gonna be worth it to be part of what God doing in the church, in the house, in the country. To be part, you need to move and to go together with God. If you will not move and take care of this relationship of together, it's not gonna work. Look, we read now. How is here? There is no some even talking about the time of the snake. The time of the snakes needed to pass. At the moment the people came into the Canaan, that's it, the season of the snake finished, the snake that covered them. But look, let's see what they did.
18 глава, 4 стих. Это говорится о царе Иезекииле.
Now it says about another place in the Bible, about Tzidkiah. He broke the snake that Moses made many years before, because until this time the people of Israel kept the snake and called him the Choshtan. Imagine to yourself, 400 years passed from Moses, and from the time they passed from the snake, they even invent for him a name, Nehushtan. Imagine to yourself, Israelis were worship all those 400 or 500 years to this snake. And this is the third law that we're going to talk about. Don't make yourself an idol. You know, there is a season already, we talked about this. The snake signal sign worked, and God said to Moses even to build it, but that's it, the season of this finished. He finished to everyone, but only to Israelis they still kept it. They were worshipping because he healed them, but it's not was him. We think that, okay, it's the Israelis, it's no, but it's really terrible. The idol worship can be anything in our life, or even service, or your leader, or your family, career, car, money, everything we can say, it can be your idol that take care, that will take the focus in your life instead of God. And you will be worshipping this idol and not to God. You understand? Look how God said to Moses to build this sculpture of the snake, but the time of the snake finished a long time before. That's it, it was already an old season. They didn't need the snake anymore. That's it. The time passed. You understand now why no one knows where Moses, where the tomb of Moses. If they knew where, look what they did with the snake. But imagine if someone knew where Moses is his tomb.
Понимаете, даже здесь
They were
Бог всё
worshipping
продумал.
him till today. You see how God thinking about everything. He knew it's gonna
И
happen.
мы должны быть очень
And we need
чувствительны
to feel
к тому, чтобы не упасть
that
и не
not to
уйти.
fail
Потому что
and not to lose it.
любая
Because
вещь
each thing
может нас захватить,
can
для начала
can catch
захватить,
us
а потом стать идолом
and then
нашей
to
жизни.
be an idol in our life. Family, kids,
Можно пальцы
we
загибать.
can say
Я
so
вам
many
ничего
things.
нового не
I'm not
говорю.
telling you new
Вы
things.
все это все
You all
знаете.
know it.
А сколько, скажем,
But how many
служений?
servers?
Вот давайте прямо. Есть служение,
There is service
которое потом, ему
that
уже по 200 лет, по
200
100 лет.
years or 100 years.
Сезоны меняются.
The season finishing and the service still the same, no
Я был
changing.
частью служений, так называемых.
You know, just was part of a service, not here in this church, some meeting
Что вам
service.
сказать? Плодов
You
не
know,
было
it
вообще.
was no fruits there at all.
Но исправно эти служения якобы работают.
But it was like a work. I was going there.
Как бы работают.
It was
На
working,
самом
was
деле
moving.
плодов нет. Иисус
Moving time, but not really by the fruits.
Если нет плода,
Jesus
никакого.
said, by the fruits you're gonna know.
Как по мне, зачем
If there is no
вам
fruit,
надо
so why I
служение?
need this service?
Ты должен понять,
You need to
что оно уже
understand
не
that the service
работает.
doesn't work
И надо
anymore,
что-то
and you
делать.
need to do something.
Менять, может,
To
реформировать
change,
само служение,
to
по-другому
maybe
его
to
делать.
go
Ты
ahead,
делаешь
but to
что-то.
do, to change,
А
because
не
this
оставаться
doesn't
в
work,
том
and not to
и
be
поклоняться
stuck
тому, что
and to
потому что
worship to the
200
same,
лет
because
назад
200
в
years
Америке
ago
или
in
в Англии
America
это
or in England
работало.
it's worked.
Аллилуйя, аминь.
Hallelujah,
Там это
amen,
работало
amazing.
200 лет
200
назад.
years ago.
А в Израиле
But in
сегодня
Israel
оно может
today,
не
it will not
работать.
work.
Но нет, так же
That's
удобно,
it.
правильно?
Ah, it's comfortable to be like this. Yeah, you have a service, you have a V, that you're doing this. 15, 20 servers, but there is no fruit, no one cares. For them it's important that this exists. Yes, we have it. Look at me, I'm part of this service. Okay, and then what? Fruit you have from this service or no? Or it's for no reason there?
И четвертое.
4.
Четвертое
Number
правило.
4 law that we're gonna talk about.
Никакой конкуренции или соревнований.
No competitions.
Давайте прочитаем Иоанна,
Let's read John
3 глава,
3,
с 22 по
22
26
to
стих.
26.
После всего
After
пришел
this,
Иисус с учениками
Jesus came to the
своими в землю
students
иудейскую, и
in
там же
Judea,
с ними и крестил.
and there he was
А Иоанн
living with
также
them.
крестил в
And John
Иордане, близ
also
Салима, потому
was
что
on
там
the
было
Jordan
много
River
воды.
because there it was
И
a lot of
приходили туда
water,
и крестились.
and people
Но
came
Иоанн
to
еще
John,
не был заключен в темницу.
but John was
Когда
not in
у
the jail
Иоанновых
yet.
учеников
But when
произошел спор с иудеями
they
по
started to fight
очищению,
between the
пришли они к
students,
Иоанну и сказали
and they came to
ему:
John,
«Рабби, тот, который
Rabbi,
был с тобой при
this
Иордане,
guy who was
и о
next to you in
котором ты
Jordan a few
свидетельствовал,
days ago,
вот
that
он
you talked
крестит, и
about,
все
he is
идут
also
к нему».
baptizing people and people
То есть,
going also
смотрите,
to him.
начался спор
You
с
see, there is a
иудеями,
fight
учеником.
between Jewish here in the
Каким
Jordan
боком они уже
to what
зашли на
God,
Иисуса, и то, что он с
like,
учениками крутит, непонятно.
they doesn't understood
Но в
nothing.
любом случае,
But in
представьте
another way,
ситуацию, да?
think the situation.
Иоанн появился в
John
кресте,
was baptizing in the Jordan, and after 6 months,
появляется Иисус,
Jesus
и
appearing
тоже
and
крестит.
also
Народ
baptizing
недоумевает.
people in the water.
Кто прав,
Who
кто
is
нет.
right,
То
who
есть
is no?
действительно, как бы, они действительно
Like
были в
actually it
замешательстве.
was kind of weird, you know, two people, different places. This is from God, and this is kind of saying that he's from God. So who is the right?
Давайте ж выбирать.
Let's
И
choose.
они
And they started
действительно заревновали,
to fight, to
почувствовали
discuss
конкуренцию со стороны
competition
Иисуса и
from
учеников.
Jesus' side and the
И пришли
students,
с этим
and they
вопросом
came
к Иоанну.
to John with a
На
question.
самом деле не надо было
But
ни с кого
actually, they
выбирать.
doesn't need to compare or
Просто это
choose.
абсолютно два
It's
разных
just
служения,
two
абсолютно
different
два
services
разных крещения.
and two different baptized.
Закончилось время
It's
Иоанна
finished the time of
Крестителя.
John
Он крестил
baptized.
покаяние
He
грехов
was
о грядущем Мессии.
calling
А
people
Иисус
back to
уже
God, and
крестил.
Jesus already
Царство
was
Божие и
baptizing
то,
in
что,
the
скажем,
kingness
народ
of God.
израильский его принял. Это
For them
абсолютно две
to
разные
accept
вещи.
him is just completely
Но
different
ученики
things. But the
возревновали.
students were jealous,
Только Иоанн Креститель понял всё.
and just John the
Ему не
Baptizer
надо было
understood
это
it
всё
all.
объяснять.
He didn't
Он
need
не
explanation.
виноват. И он не соревновался
He
ни
was
с
no
кем. Он понимал, что его
competition
время закончилось.
training with someone. He just knew his time finished.
Смотрите, а ученики, ну,
And look,
конечно,
the
смотри, они
students, of
видят,
course,
видят,
they
вот
see
приходит Бог,
people
а
little by
Иоанна
little
уводят.
going from John.
А они же были первые.
But they
Иоанн
were
раньше
first.
пришел.
John was
А что
first.
же он должен-то уходить
Why
со
people need to
сцены?
go from
Они
him?
начали переживать за
And
своего
they started to
учителя.
be jealous for
Что
their
будет
leader,
один?
John, that will be
Один.
alone, without people,
Позаброшен.
without
То есть
people who
останется
following him.
один.
He will stay
Все
alone.
уйдут.
Everyone gonna leave him for
И что
Jesus.
дальше?
And then
А
what
они же были
next?
первые.
But they were first,
И
right?
они пришли с
And
этим.
they came with this.
Потому что они понимали,
Because they
что
understood
все
that
идут,
Jesus
и
taking
Иисус
all the
собирает
people.
толпы. Мы
And he
читали,
also
да,
have
скажем,
thousands
когда
of
он
people right
проповедовал
there.
на Кеннерике,
When he was in the Sea
что
of
он
Galilee,
просил отплыть,
he was
потому
needed
что
to take a
столько
boat
людей
far
было,
from
что он просил
the
отплыть
beach
от
because
берега для
it
того,
was
чтобы их учить
it was so many
проповедовать.
people right there. He was not able to see them all.
Мы
Imagine the
знаем,
amount
да,
of people that
что
Jesus
Иоанна
was having.
Крестителя
So John
служение всего
baptized.
6 месяцев.
It was just 6 months of service. It was his time and that's it. Imagine.
33 года
33 years.
Бог
God
растил его, готовил
grow him,
для того,
prepared
чтобы
him
он
for
служил
to
всего
serve
6
just
месяцев.
6 months. This was his service.
На самом деле это очень
But
сильно.
actually it was strong and
33
powerful.
года.
Imagine 33 years old.
И не
Years.
служить,
Not to
а потом
serve,
за 6
and
месяцев,
suddenly 6
скажем
months
так,
to do the
сделать
best
всё,
job
что
in the
должен
world,
сделать.
to do everything you should
Вот
do.
его, знаете, его же называют предтечей, знаете, правильно?
They
Так вот,
calling him.
предтеча, смысл этого слова, это тот, которого пускали перед царем.
Someone who going before the king, they called him
Иоанн
this word.
Креститель был послан
John
специально,
was
мы знаем,
called
что это его функция была. Он
Especially for
приходил
this, it was
к
his
Господу, и
function
он это
to
даже не
make
скрывал.
the way of God
И,
reign.
родные, между нами не должно быть
And
никакой
between
конкуренции.
us, we don't need to have any
Если мы
competitions.
видим,
If we
что
see,
кто-то, кого-то
if
Бог
someone,
поднимает, мы должны
God
понимать,
raising him up, we need
что
to
мы можем
understand
Богу помешать.
that we can
Поднимать
bother
другого
God
лидера.
and to do some
У
mess
каждого из
there.
нас
We
свое
don't need.
служение есть.
Each of us
И
has
надо
his
довольствоваться
service, his
тем, что
call,
Бог тебе
and
дал.
we
Ты
need
не
to focus
можешь
on what
охватить
God
все
gave you.
служения один.
You cannot do
Просто
all the
даже
services
физически.
alone, even physical.
Так
It's
чему
just not possible.
завидовать, что
So why
кто-то
you're
у
jealous
кого-то
that someone
получается лучше,
have
чем у
better
тебя?
something than
Почему
you?
ж надо завидовать
Why
и
you need to
конкурировать с
jealous
ним?
or to be a
Единственное, что ты
competition
можешь
with him?
сделать в этой ситуации,
The
это
only thing you
посмотреть на
can
свое
do
сердце
is to look at your
и
heart
спросить у Бога,
and to
почему
ask
у него
God why
получается, а у
He
меня
is
нет.
working better than me, why
А не
to Him He
начинать
succeed,
бегать и
and not to go
жаловаться,
and to complain
как
and to
жаловались
gossip about
ученики
Him
Иоанна
like the
Крестителя.
students of John
Они
Baptizer
побежали к
started
нему
to do.
жалобы на то,
They
что
started to
Иисус
complain
его
that
ученик
Jesus
крестит.
succeeding more than
Хотели
John.
разобраться с ним.
They started
На самом
to, they
деле,
wanted
как
to
мы
mess
должны
with Jesus.
понимать, что мы
But
должны
understand,
смотреть
we need to
по-другому.
look in a
Так, как
different way.
смотрел Иоанн
The same
Креститель на
as
всё.
John
Он
Baptizer
понимал
looked
это
it,
всё,
he
и он
understood,
успокоил
he
своих
know,
учеников. Мы сейчас
and he
дальше
made
будем читать.
his students to feel
Он
better
сказал,
because he
я прекрасно
explained them,
знаю,
I
что
know
происходит,
what
я
is going
прекрасно
on,
знаю, что Бог
I know
делает.
what God is doing.
Но если Бог
But
делает,
if
а
God
ты
doing
будешь ему
something and you will
мешать, то
bother
чем
him,
это закончится?
what
Кто
gonna be
победит?
here? Who gonna
Я
win?
думаю, нет вариантов,
I don't think there is an
правильно?
option
Ты
if no
просто
God.
сойдешь со
You just
сцены.
gonna fall from the stage.
Всё, что нам Бог дает,
Everything that God giving
Он
us,
дает не за то, что мы
He's giving
такие
us not
крутые,
because we are so
и
cool
мы что-то делаем.
or we're doing
Он
something.
дает нам это все за
He
то,
giving us this
кого
because
мы знаем. Чем
who we
больше,
know.
чем больше мы знаем
The most
Иисуса,
we
тем
know
больше
Jesus,
Бог нам
the
дает.
most God will give us.
Так это работает.
This is how it works.
Это религиозная
This is a
тема,
religion
что надо
message
заслужить, что
or thing that you need to deserve to be saved sometimes, to be deserve to serve
еще что-то надо
or
заслужить.
something
И
else.
начинается
And it's starting.
конкуренция,
Competition in the
начинается
church.
гони твоя,
Who did
начинают
better? Who
гоняться
did
друг
more?
за другом.
People are
Кто
talking,
круче,
who is more
рассказать,
cool?
какую машину купил,
What car someone bought?
у какой у него дом,
What
сколько у
house
него
someone
в церкви
has?
служений.
How many people he has in the
И
church? And to
тем,
laugh.
у кого там служение
Whoever
меньше.
has
Ну,
a
а что
service
тебе
a
за
little
церковь
or no
вообще?
have a
Там
service, who
50
you are?
человек,
Just 50
ну,
people in
что
your
церковь
church.
вообще?
This is not even a
Вот у
church.
меня
For me, I have 200 in my church.
единственный показатель
The only
есть у
thing to
церкви
show off is if you have the Holy Spirit in the church or no. This is the only reason. And know how many people you have
Пусть
come.
их будет 200,
Let them to
если
be
Бога в нем
200.
нету.
But if there is no fire of God, I don't need this service and no this church.
Пятое.
5.
Но на самом деле мало различить наступление нового сезона. Мы должны его еще принять.
We need to sometimes to accept new season that coming.
Дальше, 27, 28.
And we're gonna read again the same book, John 27.
Не может человек ничего принимать
John
на
said,
себя,
a person cannot accept something if he will know of it from the heaven. You said it by yourself, that you said that I said, I'm not the Messiah, I'm the one before him. This is the words of John. He said it to his students. And this is the biggest spiritual understanding. I never said to you, I'm the Messiah. He never said it. I said that I'm before him, just coming before. So why you're surprising? He came, right? So that's it. The most is growing. I'm going less and less. Why you're so surprising? You had some another expectation about my function. So as they saying, your expectation is your problem. John knew exactly that his season coming to the end, the new season of coming of Jesus, and I knew exactly what I did and understand that my season finished, done. I'm accepting. Look how he is saying here. He is accepting. He doesn't have nothing against that. He could say, Jesus, let me some new months. I want to be again popular like this. Give me more. I want to be more time leader. No. He knew and understood that his time finished. And he's saying about this. He accepting that he need to leave. And he's saying this to his students to teach them, trying to explain them the truth. And the same we have. The thing that you understood that the season finishing, and you understood that God starting to do new, it's not everything. You also need to accept this, to accept the fact, and you can be part of this, and to go hand by hand with God. And we need to understand, as we said, to trust God. How we are to enter something new, our knees starting to shake and we're starting to get stressful. But here is to be trust to God. We need to understand that if God leading us to something new, it means everything is ready. You just need to enter to this, to trust God, and to let him act and to do what he have to do and want to do. The same like John. You think that John was not said that it's finished? I think he was said. He was so popular. And then in the end they even cut his head. Yeah, it was really sad. Now you understand. 33 years he was preparing those 33 years to be ready to do these 6 months. Yes, it said. But he knew clearly that his time finished. This was the difference between him and his students. The students were not accepting this and they were not understanding. They were the same, stuck in the same level where they were. And some of them, I hope they change in the end. People who are still following till today that John was the Messiah, Jesus, even till today. But this is another message. To give everything to God, to be trust to Him, and to understand that He knows better than us. He knows when is the time to change. And we don't need to invent, let's wait, let's make it in a year, 2 years, right now I'm not ready. We will not be ready never. This is the problem. And it's going to be just like a circle. All the time we will try, God, no now, I'm not ready. Let's do it later. I will be stronger. I will make myself bigger. And then, okay, change. But actually, it will not time like this come. God looking at each of us different. He see the potential that each of us has. And in this potential, He's choosing a person. Because if God were waiting for us to be ready, we were like Gideon. At the last moment, maybe. Gideon was ready when God said to him, "You're gonna be the fighter of Israel." No, he was not. More than this, he was afraid. But God saw the potential in him, and He took him. We are the same. God choosing us, not because who we are, beautiful eyes or beautiful body. He just see the potential inside us, and He's acting by this potential. And it was not the fault of God if you are not using your potential, like Samson didn't use his potential that he had. Imagine if he was not having this crazy way of life. Imagine how he was useful by God in a crazy way. It's so bitter. Understanding that is so not used by God because He didn't want and didn't let him. And Israel was also the same. They were needed to be the light of the world. And what happened? Yeah, we are worshipping the snake for 400 years. Look, you understand what potential the Israelis had, and they were worshipping a snake for 400 years. This is not the fault of God, that we are behaving like this. This is our fault. We need to understand that God need to move us, and we need to follow Him. 6. The thing that's gonna help us. Something of some saying of some nation in Russia, but he said some joke. So the 6 is to be patient. For you to go from the old to the new is to be patient, to be ready. Sometimes we have so much pain inside. Our soul is pain and we're feeling stressful, and they're asking you to change and you don't want. You want to stay the same. Everything is so good to you. Why to change now? And let's read 29 and 30 sentence. The one who is the bride is the groom, and the friend of the groom that with him is so happy for him to hear the voice of the groom. And this is what I am. This is what Jesus is saying. John saying he is growing and the friend is going down less and less. This is how it works. To him he needs to grow, and for me it's the opposite. And then you will not have any problem. Not with your heart, not with your passion, not with nothing. Because you will give to God the option to grow your heart, Him in your heart, and from you less and less. The more you have God, the less you have you. And sometimes, if God is raising up a new student or new servant, it means it's the right thing. And you need to look at this in another eyes, like John the Baptizer looking at this. Because here, he also talked about Jesus before, but in another word. He was marking that he doesn't have a problem with proudness and with competition. Because Jesus came after him and he was more than him. But the opposite, he said. He was not proud. He said, the most he is growing, I'm going back. To go back from the stage. Because the one who came to the stage is more cool and is stronger and powerful.
Очень и очень. Он говорил, что среди сынов человеческих не было такого, как Иоанн Креститель.
Even Jesus said a lot about John Baptizer, how big personality he had, that his soul was appreciating him. He was no better than him even, was saying. 6 months of service, let's say again this, John Baptizer did the best of the best. It means he did really good, exactly what he needed to do, and the way he did it. And the third, it was without any mess. The most easy way he went back because he understood his time is over. And how we are, God talking to you. Go away, how can you stay there? No, I want to stay, it's my position. But how you are so proud, you want to stay there, how are they going to take it from me now? But look, I will read it also, because I don't want to miss nothing here in this sentence. Look to who is comparing himself, John. With the friend of the groom. If to take the wedding of the church, they calling to the friend Shoshvin in Hebrew, but in the time the ceremony of the Jewish was a little bit different. So the friend was making the party of the wedding. He was calling and inviting everyone, the friend of the groom, and he was preparing all the dinner and all the food. The friend of the groom was also leading the groom and the bride, but more than this, on him it was a big mission. In the wedding, he was needed to secure the room of the bride and not to let no one to enter, just the groom. He opened the door for his friend that's getting married, and in the darkness, he needed to hear the voice of the bride. He led them to be there alone and left very happy because his mission was done. So see this on each of us and on the church. This is the mission of each of us. When we're bringing someone to the church, we need to help him in the beginning to meet with Jesus, to meet with the groom, to be part of him, and not to lead him for him to be with you, because this is not the mission of him to come to the church. We don't need to make people connecting to you. We need to lead them to God, to help the person you brought to meet Jesus. And John Baptizer did the same. It's not that he was mad or jealous to Jesus. He was happy. He was so glad. He left his service because he understood that a new time coming. All the time. We are happy like this or not? When someone trying to move us somewhere in another place, do we happy all the time? Do we understand all the time that the season changing? Do we giving all this to God? Yeah, God, you know better than me. Because if we will start to do something, you know what's going to happen. You thought it's going to be better, but it will happen like every time. You understand that when we're starting to do something with our power, with our hands, so something happening, like happened to the students of John Baptizer, that came and started to complain and trying to do by themselves things. But when we're giving this to God, whatever John said will happen. He needs to grow, and I'm the opposite, going and living. And passion, here, exactly, is the work with our heart, to go from the old to the new. The passion is very important, because it can happen that you will have a thought that someone around you is better than you, and then you're starting to think, but I'm in the church is more time than him. What is going on here? Why he's getting better service than me? Especially when we're talking about our teenager. Wow. Here, even more. Who is? Just 1 year is a believer, and I'm 30 years. Why he is? Why God gonna use him and not me? But we talked about this already. Be careful. Because this is complaint against God, because he putting servers and no person. About this John said that person cannot accept on himself anything if it's not gonna accept by God to him. A person cannot accept, and when you're starting to complain and you is better than other one or other person, you're walking more to the church than him, more time. Be careful, because this is complaining against God. And this is really dangerous. And this is going to bring the snakes of fire. And for your complaint, they're going to bite you. The same like some birds that are waiting the moment. At the moment you're starting to complain, they are starting to bite you. And then you need to go back to ask forgiveness from God. The same like the Israelis was asking back to Moses to pray again to God to take those snakes. But Moses was not having against nothing. He was doing. You don't understand how Moses has this passion, like how he worked like this so much. But look how God listened to Moses. At the moment Moses said to God, he stopped this and he said to him to build this snake. And imagine, the snakes were biting and biting every moment. It was needed to work fast. The faster you're gonna do this snake, the less people gonna die. Imagine how important the fast work of Moses. I know the heart of Moses was pain for Israelis. How much he wanted to help. Always he wanted to give his life for his nation. Imagine how fast he built this snake. For to less people die. And this is also passion. If you don't have enough passion, it's gonna be hard for you. And if you are proud, it's gonna be very hard too. Because this is not the right way to be. I read about one American pastor. He had a church. I don't remember the city, but he had a church and people came to the church, normal. 200 people maybe. America, They have a big churches. And here, next to his church, opening another church. A little young guy. And then suddenly, people started to move from this church to the one in front, to the other young guy. People started to move. Every Friday, less and less people in the church that was first. And one day, the pastor, the old one, see that no one is came to the church meeting. Maybe 5 people out of 200. Some people who will not leave the church never. Those people. And he's looking, where is everyone? And one of them saying, was kind of sad and said, I think they came to the church in front of us to listen to a new young guy preaching. The pastor thought and then said, I think we also need to move and to follow the guy there. He went down from the stage and lead all the students, the 5 people with him, to the other church. Imagine how no proud was this guy. He was not against and going to the cross of the road and to hit the young guy because he took from him and stealing from him people. It was not his act. The opposite. He understood that maybe he is wrong. Why people moving from him to him? And the opposite. He came to him, even if he was younger, and he wanted to understand why he was wrong and to change and to be part of this other church, not of him. And look how no proud to go down and to go under this authority of this son and guy, young guy. Okay, he was not saying, okay, it doesn't matter how many people, even 5, I will keep having this church. He understood that there is a reason why people left and went there. This is actually like this. You are not lying to yourself. If you don't feel the Holy Spirit in a church, so why to be there? To go, just to sign that you were there, to mark. But this is
И
what
разве
God
это то,
said.
что Он хочет, чтобы мы делали?
Does God want us to do it like
Разве
this?
ради этого мы
Just for
живем?
this,
Разве ради этого мы ходим сюда?
He lead us to here? No.
У нас же цель немного
We have a
другая.
goal,
С помощью
another.
Бога менять свои
With
сердца.
the
С помощью
help
Бога
of God, we are changing, and our heart is changing.
входить в Его план.
With His help, we are going to His plans.
Для этого иногда
And to
нам
this,
больно.
sometimes it may be hard and pain for us.
А иногда и часто.
Sometimes even a lot of time is pain. But what can we do? God didn't promise that everything will be chocolate and sweet.
Черный, горький
It
шоколад.
will be like the black bitter chocolate maybe.
Нигде.
But no
У
one,
Иисуса
never.
всегда был
Jesus
искренний
said,
со своими учениками.
always,
Он
He
не
was saying the
рассказывал о
truth.
том,
He
что
never
вот,
said to
короче,
them,
вы за
that's
мной
it,
пошли,
you following me,
и жизнь
and the
удалась.
life is amazing.
Он говорил им, что за имя
He said to
мое
them
вас будут убивать.
that they will kill you because of my name. And what the students said, they follow Him anyway.
Без смирения
Without, if we're gonna be proud, we will not be able to go to the new season. We need not to be
мы
proud.
иногда думаем, что смирение
Sometimes we're
это какая-то
thinking that
слабость,
not to be
проявление
proud is
слабости.
means to be weak.
Но на самом-то деле
But
смирение
actually,
это очень
not to be
большая
proud
духовная
is a
сила.
big spirit
Когда ты
power
смиряешься
when you are
перед Богом,
going down
для
before
того, чтобы Он
God
тебя использовал.
for Him to use you and to change you.
Смирение это фундамент,
This is the base
на котором Бог
that God
может начинать что-то
can
строить.
work and build on top.
Потому что когда человек
Because when a
смирен,
person is not
Бог
proud,
готов его использовать.
God's starting to use him and ready to use him. He can use him for everything.
Простой причине, что
Just
человек
because of
смирен.
this
У
person
него
is not
смиренное
proud.
сердце.
His heart is not proud.
Чем раньше мы это поймем,
The
тем
most
проще
early
нам
we're going to
будет.
understand this,
Потому
it's
что
going to
мы
be
будем
easier
драться
for us because we will not be against
и
the
не
wall
хотеть заходить
and we
в
will
новый
not go
сезон.
against the new season.
Даже ж таки возвращать. Мы будем думать о
We
том,
will
что
think
мы
that
еще не
we are
готовы,
not ready,
надо подождать.
that we need to wait, that it's not the
Мы
time.
будем ждать.
We're going to wait and wait.
Иона тоже ждал.
And
Свое
Jonah
время, пророк
also
Иона.
waited a lot.
Потом убегать.
And then he was running away. Jonah.
У нас может быть то же самое.
We can have the same
Мы
like
можем
Jonah.
сосредоточиться
Sometimes
на
we
той
are
боли, которую
focusing
мы
on one
проходим,
pain that we are
и на
passing
то, что
through,
нам
that
некомфортно,
we
и
are
нам
not
плохо.
comfortable, that is
И
hard for
полностью
us,
уйти из
and
Божьего
completely
плана.
to go from the
Бог
plan of
начнет
God,
что-то делать
because
новое,
God will start to
а
work
ты
in a
просто
new
будешь
way,
там выглядеть.
and you will look there
В
like
этом новом плане
in this new
у
plan.
тебя два варианта.
You
Или
have two
поменять,
options: or to change,
или просто
or to
тебя никто не будет
no one
использовать.
will
По той
use
простой
you
причине, что ты просто будешь
because you are
инородным
useful,
делом.
not
Том
useful
Божьем
anymore.
плане, который Он
And
хочет
who
делать
want
в нашей
to,
стране.
even in our country, everywhere,
Наша ответственность,
our responsibility,
наши сердца это
our
наше.
hearts is our responsibility. Not of Him.
Бог готов поменять
God is
наши
ready
сердца.
to change our heart.
Бог готов сделать
God
из нас,
wants
как Он
and
говорит,
ready to
драгоценнейшие
make us
сосуды.
the
Вопрос,
most
ну,
expensive
хотим ли мы?
diamonds. But the question is if we want,
Как мы читали,
if we are
народ
letting Him
Израиля,
to change.
Он их
The
ввел
same
в
like
землю
Israelis,
Ханаанскую, где уже всё готово
He
было.
let them go to
Для
the
2
Canaan
миллионов человек. И это
land
ж
that
понимаете,
was
это
already
не
and
один
prepared.
день.
It was 2 million people 40 years. It was not
2
one day.
миллиона человек
2
кормить
million
в течение
people
какого-то
to
времени,
lead
пока
in
они
40
не
years
засеяли,
for
не
them
собрали
until
свой урожай.
there are
Можете
no
представить,
changing.
насколько Бог заботится?
Work with them.
И когда я слышу, что мне говорят, что Бога
And
любящего нет
when I'm
в Ветхом
thinking, when
Завете,
people
мне
telling me
просто
there is no
хочется
God of
рассмеяться.
love in the Old Testament, and I
Если
want to
это не
laugh,
любовь,
if
что Он
this
тебя
no
приводит
love,
в чужую
that He's
землю,
taking you
чужую
to
страну,
another
на
land,
все готово.
a
Если
land,
это не
another
любовь, то
place.
что
If this is
это?
no love, so what is this?
А?
He's taking care of them
Что
and
это?
everything. What is this?
Это самое большое
This is the biggest
проявление
love.
любви, которое только может быть.
That God can have.
Бог тебя привел на все
Only God
готово.
can
Ты
have.
только
He is
сел,
making
знаешь,
ready for you
и сиди
everything.
себе возле
You just
костра,
sit
песни
and
пой.
sit next to the fire and sing song. You don't need to take care of nothing. Yeah, of course, after to make the next harvest, yeah, of course, then it's getting hard. But God lead them to a place that everything was ready for them. And each of us, we don't need to have doubt that if God leading us to a new season, maybe there's something is not ready. Everything is ready and waiting for us. We just need to enter this, to give everything to the hands of God and to be part of all this. Amen. Levites, come here, please. Let's pray about our hearts, about what we talked about today.
Аллилуйя, Иисус. Я благодарю Тебя, Господь, за каждого, Господь.
I'm thankful for everyone who is part of this church, of your church. I'm thankful for each heart that you brought here today. We want, God, to be part of a new season. We want to understand what you're doing. We don't want to have competition with no one. We are giving you our hearts to your heart, to your hand. Help us to not to complain, not to complain like the nation of Israel were doing. Help us not just to see different seasons, but also to accept, as John Baptizer got this, accepted this. Help us not to be proud and to accept the new season, to prepare our hearts to the things that you're going to do in this season, because you know better than us, and you know how to do and what to do. Your thoughts are not ours. Take our hearts. Take each of us and each heart of us in this place and do whatever you think is to do better. For our hearts to change exactly by the season that you are changing, that none of us will stay on the same level that he was, that each of us will be similar to John Baptizer, that each of us will be able to say that you, Jesus, you need to grow in my heart and I need to have less and less. And I'm asking that you will touch now each of us, each heart, that you will change our hearts. We're thankful for your word. Thank you that you brought us here. I know that you have a lot more better that you prepare for each of us. A lot better than we think, and help us to be in your plan. We all want to be part of your plan. Each of us want to have effect and to serve and to build your kingdom in our land and our nation. Thank you, God. Thank you that you are changing us. Thank you for these seasons that each of us passing through. Someone hard, someone easy, someone just good time. We are thankful for everything you're doing in our life. Thank you, Jesus, that you love each of us. And you're ready to bless each of us more and more. Help us to accept it all for the thing that you are preparing. Not to reject, not to go away, but to open the heart and to accept what you're preparing. Because this is you are.